Did you know if you harm or kill a native bird, it is breaking state and federal laws?
I sure did. Did you know that nesting season is from February 1st to August 15th?
And did you know there's certain endangered species protected by environmentally sensitive areas?
And did you know that there are certain steps that homeowners and homeowners associations can take to help protect these babies and their birds?
I'm Amanda Gray.
I'm Sierra Schinolfen.
Welcome to the Harvest Lab. Today we're going to answer all of these questions and meet some amazing experts.
Let's take flight.
Ooh, my arms are tired.
Same here.
We just flew into the Newport Back Bay Loop.
And if any of this has been interesting at all, we have good news for you. There are several ways that you can partner with your landscape providers to protect birds in your communities. In fact, careful tree trimming, executed well, is just one of those things.
But there's more to tree trimming than you think. We need to take extra precaution to make sure we protect our feathered friends and not deliberately destroy their homes.
So that's where our specialist comes in. And today we're going to meet Debbie Kinsinger of Kinsinger Environmental Consulting. Debbie has worked as an independent biologist specializing in Southern California habitats since 2003. Ms. Kinsinger's background includes 6 years with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, as well as private consulting firms and state and local government agencies, including a year at Caltrans District 11 in her early career history. Debbie is a scientist and a bird expert. I can't wait to hear what she has to say.
Hey.
Hi, Debbie. Come on in.
So, we're excited to talk to you. Could you tell us a little bit about the legality behind migrating birds?
Oh boy. You guys ever thought about bird control? Left, right, there you go.
There's been some wrangling in recent years over how the federal Migratory Bird Treaty Act should be interpreted. So, in 2018, California Attorney General Javier Becerra issued an advisory affirming California's protections for migratory birds. That's why we have a nesting bird monitor, like me. I find nests a few days before pruning the trees, and that way the arborist doesn't have to worry about finding a nest after starting to work on a tree. We can just wait until the chicks have flown and then come back to prune the tree later.
Oh, okay, so it's like when our kids leave college. We can fix up our houses afterwards.
Exactly.
I'm still waiting for mine to grow a couple feathers, unfortunately.
Birds are important to ecological diversity. Because they eat insects and transport seeds to wild habitat and pollinate flowers.
That's amazing. That's awesome. I think we should go check them out.
All right, let's go.
So what kind of birds are most common in residential areas in Southern California?
Well, here we have both coastal California scrub right next to residential habitat. So any bird might choose to nest in that residential habitat, but the most common birds are going to be house finch, house wren, Buick's wren, mourning dove, hooded oriole, black phoebe, Anna's hummingbird.
That's so interesting. I didn't know there were so many. So what are specific behaviors that indicate that a bird is getting ready for nesting season?
Well, if you see a bird with a piece of grass in its beak flying towards some trees, they're probably using that to either make a nest, or maybe it's the male showing it to the female to say, hey, I could make a great home for you.
Oh, how manly. So how long is their typical reproductive cycle?
Well, you know, each species has a different period of time, so I always look up what would be the reproductive period for each species that I observe nesting. So with hummingbirds, it takes about 2 weeks to incubate, and then another 2 weeks for them to fledge or fly from the nest. So it could be anywhere from a month to 5 weeks. Now, for hawks, it's more like 10 weeks from incubation to fledging the nest.
So it varies between species. That's amazing. So how do we know the tolerance of certain birds during nesting season?
Well, different birds have different tolerances. Hawks are more sensitive, and you should stay farther away from them because any noise like felling a tree or even weed eaters could disturb them. If there's a line of sight between the nest and the area where you're working, there's more chance of disturbing them than if there's a building in the way. But a general rule is to try and stay about 300 feet away. For hummingbirds, they're a little more tolerant to noise and wind and disturbance, but you wouldn't want to get so close that they start coming after you to defend their nest. They will stay on that nest very, very consistently through a lot of disturbance, but if you see them coming off their nest and flying towards you, that's an indication that you're too close.
Wow, so hummingbirds are hardy. So what are environmental sensitive areas, or ESAs?
Well, we're in one right now. This is California coastal sage scrub. And the environmentally sensitive bird is the threatened California gnatcatcher. And it builds its nest right in these low shrubs.
Oh, wow. I had no idea. So not only in trees, in shrubs as well.
Yes.
So what can property managers or board members do to partner with their landscaper to help protect these nests during nesting season?
Well, I recommend that every HOA have an inventory of all of their trees on an app called Tree Plotter. Then I take my tablet out to the field and I look at that app to find where those trees are and then monitor the buffer zone for protecting the birds that are nesting.
Wow, actually we have our own client portal with our own tree plotter. Thank you so much, Debbie, for joining us today. Your knowledge is amazing.
You're welcome.
If you guys need any more information about Debbie or her consulting services, follow the link below. Let's go get some facts now.
Now, are you ready to learn about some endangered bird species? What about ESAs? Sierra, what is that?
I got this.
Whoa, nice.
According to Law Insider, environmentally sensitive land shall mean that land which contains natural upland or wetland communities, native plant communities, rare endangered flora and fauna, endemic species, endangered species, habitat, a diversity of species, significant water resources, or outstanding aesthetic or natural features.
Very interesting.
All native birds are protected, including hummingbirds, blackbirds, finches, crows, and jays. There's a long list of native birds, including endangered birds, that we have provided in the link below. Go check it out.
I have a good idea, Sierra. Let's go visit Moises Salinas. He's a certified arborist with Harvest Landscape. Ready?
Yeah.
Now we're going to talk to Moises Salinas. Moises is a certified arborist at Harvest Landscape. Not only is he a certified arborist, he is also wildlife trained in tree care for birds. Let's say hello. Hey, Moises.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
Good. Come on in and say hello. So, Moises, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background.
I am a certified arborist. I am a certified tree worker. I am a certified tree care safety professional, and I am a qualified tree risk assessor. I have been in the industry for going on 18 years. I started with just as a groundman, chipper operator back in 2003, and now I am the operations manager for Harvest Landscape.
So, Moises, tell us more about this wildlife training.
SIMS wildlife training consists of showing how birds nest, where they nest, shows us the type of a nest to look out for and what type of trees. It also gives us an insight as to what birds are protected. If we come across any active nest, we typically leave the tree alone and then we notify the resident manager that the tree was not trimmed due to an active nest.
So what is Harvest Landscape's arbor care approach when it comes to nesting season?
Well, the first step is not only to examine the tree before you get into the tree, but also to look for any active nests. If there is any active nest, then we typically do not disturb the nest. We just leave the tree alone. We communicate to the property manager that there is an active nest and that we will come back at a later date to be able to trim it.
Any birds up here?
Not quite like that.
So we know Harvest is all about sustainability. How do we tie that in to nesting season?
Well, part of our responsibility to the community is to be able to not disturb any wildlife if possible.
So, Moises, tell me more about this tree.
So this is a Pinus halepensis. It's an Aleppo pine, and we are going to inspect it.
What are we looking for?
So one of the first things that the climbers look for when they get here is they look at the base of the tree, make sure that there's no roots uprooting, make sure there's no conchs. make sure that tree is solid and sustainable. As he looks up, what he does is he looks for any broken, damaged, or wildlife that has to be a concern with. As he approaches and he goes up into the tree, then he can keep inspecting it and make sure that there's no active birds.
Is there any tips on spotting some of those nests?
So typically, as soon as you approach the tree from far away or from underneath, you can basically always see the size of the nest, depending on the tree. There are some smaller birds that tend to make their trees out into the limbs, which are a little bit harder to look at. But as the climber looks up or ascends up into the tree, he always looks around for anything that's going to be a potential danger to himself, or that if there's any active nest.
And are you pre-inspecting those areas to make sure before we start our work?
Typically, when the crew first arrives to the job site, one of the crew leader's responsibilities is to take a walk around the area that we're working and make sure that there's no hazards for the rest of the crews.
That was really great to see Moises in action. Let's go back to the lab.
Well, wasn't that amusing?
Aren't Debbie and Moises a chirp off the old block?
Good one. And now I'm glad to know that it is illegal to harm native birds.
And I'm glad that we got all of our ducks in a row.
We hope you enjoyed learning with us today.
Where science
Plus fun equals
the Harvest Lab.
Tall like I'm on my tiptoes, baby. You think a little too small. I got big goals, baby. Ain't where the money at? Look, I just need the info.